Alright, so today will be another maintenance video for the Honda CBR300. We're going to be changing the spark plug. This is a spark plug you're going to want to use. It's the model number that's in it when you buy the bike. You bought it new. It's pretty straightforward. It might take a little bit of time if you haven't taken the bodywork apart first. One of the things we're going to have to do, we're going to have to remove the seats first. And then on both sides we're going to have to remove some of the side plastics here and remove this and the gas tank cover. That's some of the things I remember. I've done this once before, but it's pretty straightforward once you get used to it. Alright, so the first step I'm going to start with is the seat. I already got the rear seat removed. Now we just need to remove the front seat. That'll give us access to the fuel tank bolts and also easier access to remove the side panels over there. What I like to do when I take stuff apart like this is to try to keep it with the part itself. So when I remove the seat, I'm going to keep the bolts right there when they get removed. And as you can see here, removing that gives us access to be able to remove this when it's time, and depending on the angle of the camera, you can see it there. Also uncovers this bolt here, which is easier to see from that angle with the seat removed. And since I'm going off memory here, I'm going to start with the two bolts that are right there, and make my way down to these side bolts and then go to that one, because pretty much what you're doing, or at least what I'm doing, you want to release these bolts so that these plastics can come off, the little side trim pieces, and also unbolting this should give you access to pull this off, because I think there might be a lip under it. I know this part's only velcroed on. Once you get that done, once you get these removed, it should be straightforward. Oh yeah, and this bolt right here is also connected to all that. Once you have that going, then we're going to remove the fuel tank into the one or two bolts are up front under this cover. And what I do, I know some people like to completely remove it. I just set mine off to the side a little bit on the frame. You're only in there for a minute. Just want to make sure you don't set it too far off to the side, but we'll get to that when I get there. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get started and remove those side bolts on both sides. This is a size 5. It looks like it's going to be that size for most, if not all of them. I'll go ahead and get started. Alright, upon further inspection, I'm also going to have to remove this rear plastic here, which is held in by two bolts. It would be this one and that one, because that's also tucking in this plastic. Alright, so what I just got done doing is removing this side piece panel. Once you have this loose, you have to be gentle, but you can wiggle this out. I'm trying to remove as little as possible, because that's one thing I remember doing when I was first doing the spark plug, is I had a bunch of stuff to remove, and after looking at it, it really wasn't necessary. So I'm going to remove this on the other side, and hopefully that'll give me access to remove that tank cover, because we have 2 bolts here for the fuel tank and 1 or 2 up front. Once we get the fuel tank removed and we can prop it off to the side, that's when it'll get a lot easier. This is the most difficult part, is just plastic removal. Alright, so now I got the plastic pieces removed off the other side. Now what we got to do is remove this front bolt. I use the right end. That's a 12. I think those are 10s. Grab a 10. Yeah, so you'll need 10 and 12 millimeter sockets for this job, other than your spark plug socket size. Alright, so I'll try to get a good shot of this. Once you get the tank set off to the side, this top layer you can just move to the side. Then the bottom one is pretty snug in there, but you have a little access hole here. And right in there, if I can get it on video, right in this little access hole, you're going to pull up this part right here, and that'll give you access to the spark plug. I pulled the boot out, so now what you'll need is a 5/8 spark plug socket and an extension on your ratchet, and you're just going to have to fish in there, get it out. Alright, so after going back and forth for about 10 minutes thinking I got this thing loose, I finally got it out. And what's nice about using an actual spark plug socket is it will hug the spark plug. See how it looks. Really doesn't look bad, but I could tell it was due. I mean, it's only been 7,000 miles, but when a spark plug gets worn on these, the engine vibration is just increased. Like any kind of acceleration in gear, you see your mirrors over there vibrating, and you feel it through the handlebars, and that's when I know it's time, because it did that before. And the spark plug fixed it. Alright, so once you get that out, you're going to get your new spark plug. Go ahead and compare old and new. I think it's pretty obvious. I don't have to tell you which one is which. But yeah, it really doesn't look that bad. Just a little bit more wear on the tip there. Alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and get the new one installed. And once you get that new plug installed, you're just going to push this boot back in and put everything back together. Now keep in mind, when you do it the way I did, keeping this plastic on, you're going to want to be careful. I was applying a little bit too much pressure on plastic that was already cracked, and my corner fell off there, so I'll probably either glue it, leave it off, depends how it goes when I put it back together. But this is already cracked, just like over there, that's already cracked. I don't even know how it happened, but it was cracked before I started this. So if you want to risk any sort of damage to your plastics, go ahead and remove this. I just didn't feel like it was necessary. Alright, I just got the new spark plug screwed in there. One of the things that I like to do after you get everything put back together is go to the cover and put the plug before I push it down. There we go. Push it down in there, make sure it's nice and snug. That got all that nice and snug. Take back up to a safe location. So down on the side. One of the things I like to do is go ahead and start up the bike. Make sure you have everything connected right. The last thing you'll want to do is put everything back together. To realize you forgot something, you gotta take everything back off. That cycle. Back to being smooth. So now it's time for the fun part, putting all the plastics back together. So my game plan for that, and get this thing adjusted right. Done looking down. So my game plan for getting all the plastics back together. Another thing to keep in mind, this rubber mat, that just helps keep the water out. Just make sure you have that covering the top nice and evenly. So I'm going to start with that center piece that goes right here that has the carbon fiber. Get that snug back in there because that has to tuck behind this piece. And it tucks up front. And I'll do that after I get the tank connected, of course. Rebolted down. And then tighten up the rest of them. That's my plan. I'm going to start with the center and work my way around. That should be it for this video, unless I come up with something else, like another surprise, which I shouldn't. You're just putting things back where they came from. And that's it. That's the quickest way for me personally that I do the spark plug on the 300, because the first time I did it I had to remove the big old side panel right here, and getting everything snug and snapped back into place connecting up to here, that was a headache because I had a loose spot up front. One of these was still sticking out. I'm sure once I got used to it, it wouldn't have been a big deal, but I don't want to go through all that again. Thanks for watching.